Hello, my friend, and welcome to the 495th episode of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today we have Mr. Jacques Voorhees. He's the father of Eric Voorhees, who was on episode 492. Eric is an entrepreneur and an expert in the cryptocurrency space. If you've been wondering what the heck all the fuss is about Bitcoin and Ethereum and blockchain and cryptocurrencies and ledgers and all this other fun stuff, NFTs, go check that out. I also had my son on, Jake. First time he was on the show. His company is in the crypto space as well. Handshake, it's popping right now, so I'm glad I got me some of that. So check those out. Jacques, I actually met a couple years ago up in the, I was at Breckenridge with the family in the summer, and he lives in Keystone. We talk about that. Very smart guy, been an entrepreneur for a long time. He is a leader in the diamond space, and I actually bought diamonds from him using NFTs, and two of them are for sale on OpenSea. So I've been going through this with him, his two sons, and so you'll hear us talking on this interview. I actually interviewed him a year ago, and I misplaced this frickin' thing. I've done this a couple of times. I know I'm getting older. I'll be 51 here in a couple of days. I'm going to blame it on getting older, but I don't know. I did go through, I keep tweaking my processes, and I think I just misplaced it. I've got a spreadsheet and everything. I don't know. So COVID was just kicking off, so you'll hear us talking about some things. But Jacques right now is in Dubai with a big diamond event. He's there for several months. He's an author, written a couple of novels that we discuss. But he shares his story of how he thought he was going in one direction and everything changed. And he put everything into it. So how he pivoted, back years ago, how he was able to look over the horizon with the technology and the tools, the things he was doing. It's you'll find it quite informative, and he is very much active to this day. So this is not just a bunch of war stories about how things were done 30, 35 years ago. It's how things are being done today and how they're being done today by a guy with 30 and 40 years of experience. So you're in for a treat, okay? The Sell More of Everything course is alive and kicking, bringing on new folks. About to do a big promo here in the next couple of weeks. So hop in now. Sellmoreofeverything.com. You get all the videos, the workbook, private group, live weekly interactive calls with me. And you'll be glad you did. I will help you sell mo better. Okay? Sellmoreofeverything.com. Go sign up and then come back and listen to this episode with Jacques. Jacques Voorhees, all the way from, are you in Breckenridge? Breckenridge, right?
Keystone, Colorado.
That's right. We met in Breckenridge, but you live in Keystone.
Right.
All right, man. Well, welcome to Sales Podcast. How the heck are you?
I'm good. I'm surviving the virus quarantine and, watching Netflix and hanging out with my family. It's good.
So this is like a unicorn relationship here, man. We're actually Facebook friends that met in person. Like that just doesn't happen.
It's happened to me about 10 times total, where I've actually met a Facebook friend. So far, nothing bad has come of it. I mean, no one's turned out to be an axe murderer or anything, So I'm willing to meet others, but it is very weird. It's very weird.
It reminds me of that joke, I see this guy hitchhiking, and I pull over in the middle of the night, middle of nowhere, and I let him in the car, and we start driving. He says, "Man, that's really nice of you, but how do you know I'm not a mass murderer?" And I'm
exactly.
Like, and I'm like, what are the odds of two mass murderers being in the car?
Great answer.
It's like, can you let me out of the next corner? I think I forgot something back there.
Yeah, I'll have to remember that one.
Oh, man. So you are a man of many talents. I affiliated with you because we have very similar outlooks on politics and economy and things like that. But you've been in the diamond business your whole life, but you're also like a real author, right? Not an Amazon bestseller who wrote a 100-page little pamphlet and between 12 a.m. and 1 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. and 1 a.m. in Papua New Guinea, you were a bestseller, right?
Right.
You actually wrote
or
real
American Samoa. I think that's the delegate that
yeah.
Bloomberg got. Yeah. So that's kind of a good summary. I've been in the diamond industry all my life, but I don't buy and sell diamonds. I provide marketing services, online marketing services. I'm in the diamond industry. I'm known as kind of the inventor of online diamond trading, because I started this in 1975, decades before the web came along. And then writing is just a hobby. I love it. I've started doing it. I have one book up on Amazon now called Chrysalis, and a three-part trilogy will be up by the end of this year. So then we'll see what I do next.
So you're doing more than just watching Netflix. You're actually being productive during this time, huh?
Yeah, well, actually, it's ironic. For me, ever since I sold my company Polygon, which was the main thing I did in the diamond industry, I've been working from home, sort of retired, semi-retired. I mean, I guess not retired at all, because I'm probably working harder now than I did when I went to an office. You know how that is. But it's fun. It's stuff I like doing. And so because I've been working at home, and my wife works at home as well, quarantine, what quarantine? It's business as usual here. And we're used to just working here with our laptops and internet and Facebook and everything. And I think it's amazing that our society has gotten to the point where so many people are able to do that kind of work. It's great. It's liberating.
Yeah, this is going to be a big change. I mean, I've worked from home for 20 years. We've homeschooled for 12. So we have two girls in high school so after 8th grade, they went into the public high school. So they came home, but they're used to being homeschooled. And yeah, for us, it's the same thing. I mean, I literally go weeks sometimes. Like the only time I leave the house is to go to jujitsu during the week and church on Sunday. So
yeah. That's good. Yeah. I think it could be a lot of changes in lifestyles that will come out of this period. Like, for example, in my case, I'd never bought groceries online before 2 weeks ago. And the first time I did it, I used Instacart, and my daughter-in-law recommended them. I tried it. It was so ridiculously easy. And I was just clicking on a website, making selections. Then, just like buying anything else online, no big deal. You click, submit order. It showed up 90 minutes later. Perfect. It was just like, why would I ever go to a grocery store again? And I think a lot of Americans are going to come to that same conclusion. We just needed something to kind of get us out of the rut. Why go to the grocery store when you can just do it by clicking and let someone else bring it? And it's great. So I think a lot of changes like that, people working at home, they're going to realize it's feasible to do it. There's going to be a lot more telecommuting after all this is over. So some good things, I hope.
Yeah, it's waking people up, right, to how we're exposed, how we're too vulnerable by being too reliant on other countries. So, I mean, some interesting things are going to come out of this. But
yeah, and I will say it's changing my politics a little bit. I'm an extreme libertarian. I'm a big believer in free trade. I don't believe in tariffs. I've always thought that it was great that that we were getting so many great products manufactured certain things out of China. I've changed. I now realize that by having a lot of those critical supplies coming out of China, we're vulnerable as a country. And I don't know quite what the remedy is. I'm not sure how we fix it. I'm not sure. I'd hate to have to just start imposing tariffs because that goes against my religion. But we need to have medicines that are created here and other critical supplies. And I think, I'll plead guilty to not having my eyes woken up on that. So now they are. Yeah.
Yeah. I made a video just, it all runs together last night or this morning even, but things are not as bad as the media wants you to say because people are so mean and ugly to each other still, at least online, right? If they were really, truly scared, they'd shut the hell up and probably just, shelter in place. But
right,
they're all mouthing off and fighting one another. So they're not too worried, at least yet.
That's a good point. As long as they're screaming at each other on Facebook, it's pretty much business as usual.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I was in this Facebook private group for one of the software platforms that I sell. And the company was going through some tough times. The software wasn't being developed and there were bugs. And the CEO actually yelled at me online, for being snarky. And I, my default tone, I mean, I don't know, military, whatever. I'm probably a little too snarky. That's my normal. So, Wes is being normal when he's snarky. All right. And,
Sure.
but I said, look, man, be worried when I go quiet.
Yeah.
Okay. As long as I'm out here, even screaming and yelling, right? It's a private group. I'm not out in the public, beating you up, but we're keeping it in the family, but you need to hear this stuff. But when I go quiet, you better get really scared.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, fair point. But, I realize I could tone it down a little bit, but they should take the heat a little bit better, because it came from a place of love, right? I wanted them to do better, and I was just frustrated that they weren't. So everybody's still out there fighting. So I don't know, man. I think the collective knows. I think we're going to get through this.
I think we're going to get through this.
And if we don't, I'll just delete this episode, okay?
Totally, yeah, because you don't want to be wrong. That'd be the worst outcome.
I can't let people know my crystal ball was wrong. Magic 8 ball. Are we going to get through this?
or record several videos,
Yeah.
each making a different prediction, and then you can point to the one that was correct.
Upload the good one. Upload the bad one. Damn it. Yeah. Internet's down. I can't upload any of it. So, but I mean, you were in business for a long time. I mean, you've gone through, you went through 2008, right? You went through 9/11. You went through the .com implosion. You went through the 91. 91 was a mild recession. We had SNL debacle. That was in the 90s, right?
That was a long time ago. Yep.
Or that was the 80s, wasn't it? The SNL crisis?
I think so. So. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, what have you seen, right, in business? So folks that are, maybe this is one of their first big downturns, maybe they're first time that they're in business on their own, and experiencing this downturn, because it's different when you're employed somewhere, right? I can kind of ride it out. You get the cushion of the company, but a lot of my listeners are entrepreneurs, and we've had a pretty good growth since 2008. Right? I mean, we were due for a recession regardless. And this is brutal, but it, how did you survive some of these unexpected downturns in the past?
Oh, it's all about adaptability and being nimble. In fact, let's talk about that a second. I think there are two competing business imperatives. One is staying the course and sticking with your vision, and the other is being nimble. And the two are opposite. And so a lot of it is knowing when you're at a point in the road and you need to be nimble, or when you need to stay the course. And I don't have perfect wisdom on how you make that decision, but you have to realize that in business, both of those imperatives come into play. And in some ways, you can be sort of directed by both of them simultaneously in some ways. And that it's what kept me alive. My original company, Polygon, I'll just give you an example, was started back in the late 70s to address the problem of there being no accessible, workable, efficient marketplace for diamonds as investments. And at that time, diamond investment was a big deal. It had grown from like almost nothing to, within a few years, it was high inflation back then. This is why it was happening. And people were putting money into hard assets. And the diamond investment market had grown to $6 billion a year in the US. That's how many dollars were going into diamond investment. And yet there was no two-way market. So you could buy the darn things, but you couldn't sell them. Or if you tried to sell them, you'd lose 60% of your, that's no investment. So I was trying to put together, using online technology, which existed before the web, by the way. A lot of kids don't know that, but there was an online world before the web came along. And so we were putting together something that would solve the problem for investors. They could buy diamonds, they could sell the diamonds in a much more like a commodity market environment. And we actually teamed up with a division of Xerox Corporation. They were our joint venture partner because they had all the technology we needed. And we got ready to launch that thing. We were 3-4 months before launching. And Reagan got elected, and they changed the monetary policy. Suddenly interest rates shot up, inflation went way up close to zero, and suddenly it made no sense to have hard assets as part of your portfolio. the entire diamond investment market went from 6 billion a year to zero in about 90 days, 6 months, let's call it. I've never seen anything like it.
And was this right when Reagan was elected, or Reagan the?
It was about a year after what he was.
So it was his administration.
Yeah, absolutely. It was in. I'm going to say 81. It's a long time ago now, but it was.
Right.
It was 81. We were just about to launch Polygon, and suddenly that happened, and the entire market that my company was set up to serve, and that we'd spent years building the technology and the business plan and financing all that stuff. And it went to zero. And what do? Well, that's when you don't stay the course. That's when you be nimble, right? And so long story short, we found a way to kind of retool what we were building and make it something that would be usable for the regular mainstream jewelry industry. Okay. And it took some tweaks to how the thing would work and some stuff like that. But we did the nimble thing and we redesigned it and essentially put together an entirely new marketing plan aimed at the jewelry industry, not the investment market, which no longer existed. And it was successful. And I mean, it was a long struggle. It took us over a decade to become profitable. But Polygon completely changed the wholesale diamond industry, the B2B diamond industry. And now most diamonds that are, let's say, above a certain price point, like perhaps $5,000, pretty much every diamond like that in the world is sourced by online platforms, which is what Polygon created.
Right.
And as a result, it had a lot of change to the economics of the industry. And some people today still say I'm the guy that ruined the diamond industry. But there were a lot of guilty culprits that, we were very much disruptive. But the point of the business lesson there is even when something that traumatic happens to your business, and I can't imagine anything more traumatic than the market you were facing going to zero in 6 months. Just being able to look at what you have and figure out a new way to deploy assets. So in today's world, we're all sheltering in place and companies are shutting down. And okay, you can look at that as gloom and doom, and there's a lot of truth to that. There's a lot of gloom and doom. I don't mean to minimize it, but also when things like this happen, it is a time for entrepreneurs to flourish. Think of all the things that are not getting done right now. Think of all the things that an entrepreneur, I'm not talking a huge company. I'm just talking, one person, maybe with a pickup truck or even just a car, could go around trying to figure out what needs are out there and how to meet them. I don't know what those needs are, but there's a lot of people that aren't getting things that they want to get or that are frustrated in some way, and a lot of disruption of daily lives. Figure out a way to, I don't know, maybe buy up a bunch of Monopoly games and go around selling them door to door. I don't know. Would that work? Might. Everyone's sitting at home trying to figure out something new and different. So it's a time when business people, even very small individual proprietors, could be very successful if they just think creatively. So that's what it's all about right now.
Well, and I was talking about it this morning too on my live stream. People, we love to repeat the stories. Oh, Colonel Sanders was 65 years old when he sold chicken out of the back of his truck, and because they built the highway around his city and his restaurant was suffering. And it's like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Now's your time. Put the chicken in the back of your truck. Oh, what's your excuse? Oh yeah, you have a good excuse why you can't. You're right. I'm so sorry. Yeah, go file for unemployment. Right? It's like live, right? Walk your talk, people.
Yeah.
It's hard, but what the option is: crawl into the corner in the fetal position and suck your thumb, or lean into this.
Yeah, lean into this. Look at the opportunities that are out there. Often when it's business as usual, there aren't maybe as many opportunities, or it's harder to think of what would be a good thing, a good service that can be provided, because probably if it's needed, the service is already being provided. But in periods of huge dislocation, like we're experiencing now, more than anything I've ever seen in my life, there must just be all kinds of entrepreneurial opportunities that are opening up. Now, of course, I get it. It can be real hard to do stuff when it's when you're not allowed to have contact with people, when you're not allowed to go up to someone's front door maybe or they will freak if you do and try to sell them a Monopoly game. But let me just share one thing that I'm doing right now to take advantage. I don't want to say take advantage, to be responsive to what we're all going through. One of the little business activities I have going right now, which I run totally out of my house and by computer, is something called the museumofdiamonds.org. It's an online museum that has all the famous diamonds in the world, but that's not the point of it. The point of it is to invite people that have a diamond engagement ring, a bridal ring, to showcase that ring in the museum, along with the story of the love that diamond or that ring represents, the story of how they met their partner, why they fell in love, where they went on their first date, what embarrassing thing happened early on in their relationship. That's where everyone has these stories, right? And they're wonderful stories, and they speak to the time was perhaps the happiest time in your life when you first met your long-term partner and got married. Who doesn't love sharing the experience of how they met their partner and telling the funny stories that came out of that? Okay, so the Museum of Diamonds is what collects all those things, and we make it a romantic gift, and we actually sell the service where it's all packaged, and there's a beautiful announcement card that's wax sealed that comes to them, and they get to we congratulate them on their diamond and its story being inducted into the museum. It's a wonderful romantic gift to give your partner, like as opposed to roses or chocolates, right? Okay, so what we're doing right now, because of the quarantines, is we're launching a new ad series on Facebook promoting the museum, but declaring all the museum services are free until the schools open up again. Because now is the time when we're all stuck at home. What do you want to do? You're sick of Netflix. You've already cleaned the garage. What are you going to do? How about record the story of how you met your partner and preserve it for all time, and show your partner that you remember how you met them, how you fell in love, why you fell in love. It's a wonderful thing to focus on your relationship right now, and to take some of that downtime and use it to get your story up there in the Museum of Diamonds. And now it's completely free. We're inviting everybody to do it. And we're also going to be reaching out to all the retail jewelers that I know online and urging them to communicate it to their customers via social media, via their email addresses and so forth. Again, totally free, just a way of staying in touch with your customers, a way of, in our case, it will be great promotion for the museum. So when all this is over, a lot more people will have heard about it. It'll be a much more well-known thing. And it's something we can do that will be good, will be nice for people, something that is a positive, and yet we're doing it for free because it doesn't really cost us anything. So why not? And that's an example of a business, even though it's a very small one, kind of using the situation we have now to do good for the world, a little on a small, very small scale, and also do something that will help promote our business long term. So that's the kind of thing we should all be thinking of. What can we be doing right now, given this unusual situation, that will help others and be long-term value to our business?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I just last week, some guys I do jiu-jitsu with, right? Everybody's staying home. And one of the guys on BJJ Fanatics, he has a set, a series of training programs, and each one's $77. And he said, hey, you're at home, go pick one for free. There you are. Exactly. Right? So I go, okay, I went and got one. And then it's like, hey, 20% off coupon, for another. Yep. And I was like, you know what? You're giving. All right, boom, here's $61. So, and I wouldn't have bought that normally. Right. Yeah. I train 6 days a week. I don't have time to study any more jiu-jitsu. Right? I'm doing it live. But it's like he gave of himself. So I gave back, and I mean, now's the time. I'm telling everybody right now, go get market share, right? Yeah. Lower your prices, be creative. You have an excuse to lower your price. And I always say you can lower your price, but there needs to be a reason. Hey, it's my birthday. It's my anniversary. It's a scratch and dent sale. You can have a sale every week, but you need to have a reason for the sale.
Exactly.
Right. So it's like,
this is the best reason of all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go grab it. So yeah, that's cool. And, I want to go back and talking about, the dichotomy of business, right? Be nimble, but also stay the course. It's like, I'm always telling people, you're always trying to beat your best performing ad, your best performing promo, right? I mean, go to that well, as long as that thing's producing, but you need to understand it will eventually run dry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you better be digging a second well, and maybe not full tilt, right? Maybe you got a skeleton crew. Okay, at least the equipment's there, they're working. So you can ramp up. But, most people are like, oh, my well's empty. Where can I get supplies? Oh, I can't get any supplies because everybody else got all the supplies. It's like, oh my gosh. But why do we get complacent? Is this human nature? Eventually it's all hard. So you just want to coast.
Maybe. Yeah. But, you think about, you've got San Francisco. That is San Francisco behind you, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I'm pretty sure of my geography, but it reminds me of the story we've all heard that in the California gold rush, 49ers, it wasn't the people searching for gold that got rich. I mean, a few did, a few found gold,
Sure.
Maybe 0.1% of the people that were trying. But the people that really got rich were the ones that took advantage of the opportunities that came out of that gold rush period when things were very different. And it was, I think it was the people selling supplies, selling the pickaxes, selling the clothing, selling the food to the miners, the people that were racing in from the East Coast or wherever they were coming from. And that's a perfect example of looking at what the real needs are in a particular situation and building businesses around those real needs. And sure, if everyone's going to come here and play around digging holes in the ground, then they're going to need to buy food. They're going to need to buy pickaxes and shovels. Okay, well, let's orient ourselves around supplying those. And the people that did that made a lot of money. I'm sure some big companies, perhaps that are even still existing today, came out of that period. So it's when you see a huge upheaval, a huge change of any kind, man, that spells opportunity. Change equals opportunity. Disruption equals opportunity.
Yeah. Well, and everybody knows the quote, buy when there's blood in the street, but they forget the second half is even if that blood is yours.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. My son is one of the leaders of the Bitcoin crypto community in the world. And he thinks it's so funny. Bitcoin's constantly going through these boom and bust cycles. And every time there's the bust, it lands far higher than it did, before. So each bust is a time when he starts buying Bitcoin. And he's sort of, that's the wisdom that everyone is always saying, you should buy when everyone else is selling, and you should sell when everyone else is buying. But it's really applicable to everything. If we're sort of on the verge of a recession here, countries or companies are laying off and looking to sort of contract their operations, hey, that just means all kinds of opportunity for somebody else to come in and do something big. I don't know what all those opportunities are, but I just know they're out there.
Right. You gotta look. We used to sing in the military, right? Ain't no use in looking down. Ain't no paycheck on the ground.
There you go. I like that. Keep
your head up. See what's coming. See what's out there.
And that you look at what's happening in Washington, D.C. right now. They're all arguing about a stimulus bill. The best, and some of that's needed. We don't want anyone to starve to death during this period. But if I were running things in Washington, I know the kind of stimulus I'd be throwing at the economy. I'd be throwing a vast reduction in taxation and regulation. Yeah. I would empower the economy to become nimble in the greatest possible sense. Yeah. And all the regulations that's like right now, I read an article about this. To become a hairdresser, I think it's in Alabama. Yeah, just to cut hair. You've got to go through some 2 years of training and pay some huge licensing fee. Yeah. And it's just nonsense. All of it, of course, is designed by the guild to the existing people that are in that business to keep newcomers from coming into it. And that's the kind of thing, right now, I guess haircutting salons are all shut down. Okay, well, maybe they need to be, maybe that's the right chess move from a public health standpoint. I'm not sure. But when all this is over, there's going to be a huge need for all of us to get our hair cut. Mm-hmm. Look at me. I'm getting pretty long already. It was a month before I don't
even comb my wig. I love having short hair.
Yeah. I just do what it is. But I would think that if the regulations allowed it, someone could just right here where I live, could just offer to come, to take their scissors and their comb and come to your house and cut your hair, because the salons will all be booked up for a month. Okay, great opportunity for some entrepreneur to take advantage of a way to get into that.
But someone's going to get cut and the comb wasn't sterilized and they'll get MRSA and die. We need the government to supervise everything or we're all going to die.
Exactly, and that's what keeps the economy chained. That's what keeps people frozen. And so if I were running things in Washington, my stimulus would be to unleash the animal spirits of the economy, not by throwing money from Washington at it. It would be to get Washington out of the way and allow the business people, and that means every guy with a shovel and a comb and whatever he wants to use, a pickup truck, to go out there and start delivering services and be productive.
So I wanted to go back as well on, you're talking about when you had to make a big pivot, right? It's a fancy word nowadays.
Yeah.
Market crash in 81. And it took you a year or a decade, you said, to become profitable.
Yes.
Right? Looking back, if you had to do it all over again, would you scuttle everything and follow your passion to be an author or a sculptor or an architect, or are you glad that you buckled down and was the juice worth the squeeze of a decade of grinding it out to build something profitable that now you've done for an additional 30 years after that?
Well, in my case, I didn't have a choice. I think necessity is the mother of invention. Is that the phrase? Mm-hmm. In my case, I didn't have any skills. I didn't have any formal training in anything. I didn't have, when I decided to create this new online marketplace for diamonds, I didn't have a plan B. I didn't have business experience. I didn't have computer experience. I didn't have a diamond experience, knew nothing of diamonds. Didn't have commodities trading experience, didn't have any formal education or relevant expertise in any of that. And I didn't have any money. I was the most unlikely guy on planet Earth to come along and disrupt the entire diamond industry. And I stuck with it because I didn't know what else I would do. What else am I going to do? No one's going to hire me. They would look at me and say, well, you don't have any skills, and you stupid idiot, look at all these years you spent trying to do something you were totally unqualified to do. So that just proves you're stupid on top of everything else. I couldn't fail. Failure was not an option. I had to stick with it because there was nothing else I was going to be able to do with my life. And so when I finally sold the company in 2004, it was great because then at least I would be able to say, okay, I disrupted the diamond industry, created a very successful company. And now I have qualifications. Now people would look at me and say, oh, that's Jacques Voorhees. That's the guy that brought online trading to the diamond industry. So yeah, now I have a resume. But back then, when I was a kid, I had nothing on my resume. It was a blank piece of paper. And so I had to stick with it. But I think a lot of people, like maybe that have a Harvard MBA, or maybe they work for big XYZ corporation for 10 years, they already have some credentials. And it's harder, I think, for those people to become successful entrepreneurs because they're leaving so much. It's very hard to jump off that corporate gravy train and start at the bottom and try to do something very difficult. Again, I was never on the corporate gravy train, so I never had to face that decision.
Yeah. Blessings come in strange packages, huh?
Yeah, totally.
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is often bliss. Yeah. I think if I'd known how hard it was going to be to the whole Polygon journey, looking back at it, it was the best time of my life. Of course I'd stick with it. It was the right thing. So, but it was hard. It was tough. You climb a mountain, it's hard to climb that mountain, but yeah, everyone has a mountain in their life. So you might as well just start walking up.
Yeah. Start walking up your own.
Yeah.
And I'm telling everybody, it's like, we don't read history books about people that hunkered down.
That's true.
Get going.
Yeah.
You know, so, all right, man. So you mentioned museumofdiamonds.org. You've also written a book. It's on Amazon. I'm linking to that. Did I say it right? Is it Chrysalis or Chrysalis?
Chrysalis, yes.
And what does that mean?
Chrysalis is if you look it up in the dictionary, It's the hard shell pupa, it's called, of a moth or butterfly. So the worm or whatever it is before it's a butterfly, caterpillar, I guess. It goes into this kind of metamorphic state where it surrounds itself with a sort of cylindrical hard shell, and some period of time goes by and out comes a butterfly. And so in the movie Chrysalis, there's a submarine that's critical to the plot. I won't get into that, but it happens to be named Chrysalis, which is a departure from normal naming of submarines, but that's a plot element that's in there. Right. And the scientist develops time travel using subatomic particles, but he can only work if it's in something surrounded by water and if it's a metal surface. So he ends up using a nuclear submarine for his subatomic particles and for everything else. And the submarine goes back to, by accident, they're trying to only go a few minutes back in time, maybe an hour, to see what effect time travel would have on the present, see if it would be disruptive. And a mistake happens, and they end up going back to Dark Ages Ireland, and that's where the story takes place. So that's that. So in essence, the name of the book Chrysalis refers to the submarine, but actually refers also to a vehicle that is a major evolutionary device, just like a chrysalis for an insect is a major evolutionary device. That's where the name comes from.
Yeah, I've read where they did experiments where they tried opening up the cocoon to make it easier for the moth or butterfly to come out, and it kills them because it's that the stress and strain of going through like pushes fluid out of the body into the wings that harden up to give it structure. And
so it has to have that struggle. That's interesting.
Yeah, same thing with babies going through the birth canal. It does the same thing with helping push fluid out of the lungs. And after watching 7 births, I can confirm that.
7, I'm impressed.
So yeah, a little nugget there for you. That might help you on Jeopardy one day.
There we go.
So all right, so I'm linking to the book. And did you buy that domain name? I don't want to give it out unless you just bought it.
No, I haven't bought it yet. So
I'll link to
ColoradoDiamondGuy.com. I'm going to own that when we're done with our conversation.
Right, you better buy it right now. So we're going to link to that, and very cool. And if any of you are in Keystone or Breckenridge, look Jacques up. I'd like to meet you for coffee.
Sounds like a plan. Love it.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on the show, man. It's been great catching up.
Same to you. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Go find a need and fill it. Be nimble while staying the course. This is the time for entrepreneurs to flourish. Amen. So many good things in there. The downturn he experienced, right, when monetary policies changed, we are always at risk of that. I've been talking about how real estate, I think, is a bubble, but it could stay a bubble for a long time. There's an old adage that the market can stay, The market can stay basically chaotic longer than you can stay solvent. Okay, so you've got to be careful. You can be right with the foundation, with the principles, but wrong on the timing. So just make sure you are positioned so that you're protected for any chaotic changes. You know, he was stubborn. He didn't have a choice either, right? It took him a decade to become profitable. So we all have a mountain to climb, so start climbing. Okay? It's great advice. Stop comparing yourself to others. Compare yourself to yourself yesterday, to yourself last year, to yourself a decade ago. Okay? Keep going. One foot in front of the other. You know, the old adage is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So if you want to go far in your entrepreneurial career, your sales career, your marketing career, do it with someone. The problem is usually your family, your relatives, your best friends, they don't see things like you. If they're an employee, if they're not in sales, they don't get the entrepreneurship. They don't understand commission sales. So they can support you, but they can actually end up hurting you with the advice they give you. So that's why I created the Sell More of Everything group, the videos, the on-demand content, the group. You can ask questions at any time, the live video interactive calls every week. You're literally never more than just a couple of thumbs away from getting help to grow your sales, to get feedback on a landing page, on a script, help you with a negotiation. Okay? 24 years I've been in sales. I was in network marketing even before I left the Air Force, so really going on 28 years. Started buying stocks in 1992. I can give you marginal average investing advice. But I've had a real estate license, securities license, insurance license. Have closed 7-figure deals with Google, $635,000 consulting gigs with Dell. I've sold to chiropractors. I've sold to lawyers. I've sold to physicians, PhDs, sold across the kitchen table, literally. And I've been selling online for a long time. You know, I was quarantined before I knew quarantine was a thing. So if you need help selling remotely, if you need help marketing remotely, come join us, sellmoreoferything.com. All right? You'll be glad you did. You can join month to month. You can save yourself a grip and join for the year. All right? Commit to yourself. You got the stimmy checks. Invest in yourself. You'll be glad you did. Thanks for listening. I'll go sell something.